1 lap to go at Talladega Superspeedway. Shane van Gisbergen is sitting comfortably inside the top 10, his number 97 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet is clean, he has been smart all day, and a solid points finish is basically already locked in. Then, in the span of 3 seconds, everything is gone. Metal on metal. Radio silence. 2 cars squeezing him from both sides at full superspeedway speed. That is the brutal, unforgiving reality of Talladega. It does not care how well you have driven for the previous 187 laps. It only cares about what happens in the final corner of the final lap. This is the full story of the 2026 Jack Links 500, how Carson Hocevar made history at the front, and how Shane van Gisbergen lost everything he earned in a crash that was completely outside his control. To understand exactly how painful this ending was, you need to understand how well Shane van Gisbergen was actually racing before that final lap tore everything apart. SVG came into this race as the driver of the number 97 Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet Camaro, a team and car combination that has shown genuine flashes of real speed throughout 2026. He was not out there throwing his car into situations that did not make sense. He was navigating Talladega the smart way, staying out of the big dangerous packs, picking his battles carefully, and refusing to force moves that were not clearly available to him. That is textbook superspeedway racing, and SVG was executing it correctly. By the time the first significant incident of the day unfolded, van Gisbergen had put himself in 9th place, exactly the kind of result that earns you valuable championship points and builds real momentum across a long Cup Series season. His Trackhouse Racing teammate Ross Chastain was sitting directly behind him in 10th, which meant the organization was positioned for a strong double points day. 2 cars, both inside the top 10, both running clean. That is a dream scenario for any team at a superspeedway, where survival is genuinely half the battle. SVG was doing everything a driver is supposed to do at Talladega. The crash that came for him had absolutely nothing to do with anything he did wrong. With 7 laps to go, the race was completely flipped upside down by an incident that reset everything. Eric Jones, driving the number 43 Legacy Motor Club Toyota Camry, was running in 3rd place and looked like a genuine threat for a podium finish. Then Carson Hocevar made contact with Jones, the classic superspeedway hip check, sending Jones sliding hard into the inside wall before the trioval section. The race officials initially kept the race green while monitoring whether Jones could recover and get the car back on track. He could not. The number 43 was stuck in the grass, and the caution flag flew with 7 laps remaining. That single moment was massive. At the time the yellow came out, Chris Buescher was leading in the number 17 RFK Racing Ford, Carson Hocevar was second in the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, SVG sat in 9th, and Chastain was in 10th. A late caution at Talladega means the entire field bunches back up, fuel strategy is thrown out the window, and the racing becomes even more unpredictable and dangerous in the laps that follow. Drivers who had worked hard for their track position suddenly find themselves in a compressed pack, racing wheel-to-wheel with drivers who have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. The final 7 laps at Talladega were always going to be chaos. The only question was who would survive it. The race resumed with 3 laps remaining. Buescher and Hocevar lined up on the front row. Alex Bowman and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. were 3rd and 4th. SVG restarted 9th, close enough to the front to potentially advance, but also positioned in the most dangerous part of the pack where crashes tend to collect innocent bystanders who have done nothing wrong. A 3-lap shootout at Talladega is one of the most intense situations in all of motorsport. Draft lanes form and break in seconds. Drivers make split-second decisions at nearly 200 miles per hour, with the entire field compressed tightly together and every move carrying massive consequences. Hocevar immediately began applying serious pressure to Buescher, going wheel-to-wheel through multiple corners in a legitimate battle between 2 drivers who both desperately wanted the win. SVG tried to advance from 9th but could not find the lane he needed. The field ahead of him was completely locked in, and forcing a move in that situation at Talladega almost always ends only one way. So SVG stayed patient, stayed clean, and waited for an opportunity. Heading into the final lap, Buescher and Hocevar were side by side, Stenhouse was lurking directly behind them, and the entire back half of the field was breathing down each other's necks. The stage was set for something memorable, and at Talladega, memorable almost always means chaotic. Coming through the trioval on the final lap, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got into the back of Buescher, breaking him loose just enough to disrupt his momentum at the absolute worst moment. Hocevar saw the gap open, went for it without hesitation, and cleared Bisher cleanly to take the checkered flag. The move worked because Stenhouse's bump destabilized Bisher at the exact moment when he had no room to recover. Hocevar, who had been running a smart push-to-pass strategy throughout the entire day, did not need to be asked twice. He drove through the gap and did not look back. Carson Hocevar won the 2026 Jack Links 500, his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory, crossing the line just 0.114 seconds ahead of Bisher after completing 188 laps. The celebration was immediate and electric. Hocevar hung out the window of his number 77 car, soaking in every second of the moment, then drove to the wall and laid down a massive burnout that the crowd absolutely loved. For Spire Motorsports, a smaller organization that fights above its weight class on a daily basis, this was a landmark moment, a Cup Series victory on one of NASCAR's biggest stages. A win at Talladega is not just a win. The unpredictability is enormous, survival is half the battle, and Hocevar did not just survive, he controlled the final laps and won it outright. While that celebration was unfolding at the front of the field, the back half of the pack was dealing with something that looked like a demolition derby. Ryan Preece, driving the number 60 RFK Racing Ford Mustang, got loose. His car started to rotate, breaking away from the draft line and crossing directly across the nose of Van Gisbergen's number 97 Chevrolet. At superspeedway speeds, SVG had zero room to react. By the time the human brain processes what is happening directly in front of you at nearly 200 miles per hour, you are already in the middle of it. There is no avoiding it. There is no braking hard enough. There is only impact. Austin Dillon, driving the number 3 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet Camaro, was right there on the other side. SVG was sandwiched, 2 cars hitting him simultaneously from opposite directions at full superspeedway speed. That kind of impact is one of the most dangerous situations in all of motorsport. There is no way to protect yourself when cars are coming from both sides at once. You are along for the ride, and the only thing standing between you and serious injury is the safety equipment built into the car. Christopher Bell, driving the number 20 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry, was also collected in the mayhem, wrong place, wrong time, through absolutely no fault of his own, exactly like SVG. The wreckage was significant. The yellow flag flew immediately. And then came the moment that every single Trackhouse Racing crew member was holding their breath waiting for. SVG on the radio, "I'm okay." He climbed out of the destroyed number 97 under his own power. At those speeds, with that kind of side impact crash, that is the only result that truly matters. He was classified 20th, the second-to-last car on the lead lap. From a near-certain top 10 finish to 20th place in 3 seconds. That is Talladega. Here is how the 2026 Jack Links 500 finished from top to bottom. Carson Hocevar took the win in the number 77 Spire Motorsports Chevrolet, winning by 0.114 seconds after completing 188 laps. Chris Bisher crossed second in the number 17 RFK Racing Ford. Alex Bowman finished third in the number 48 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Chase Elliott came home fourth. Zane Smith in the number 38 Front Row Motorsports vehicle finished fifth. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., whose bump on Bisher helped decide the race, finished sixth. Ross Chastain salvaged something for Trackhouse Racing with a 7th-place result. Austin Cindric was 8th. Noah Gragson finished 9th. Kyle Busch rounded out the top 10. Among the crash victims, Christopher Bell was classified 17th, Ryan Preece 18th, Austin Dillon 19th, and Shane Van Gisbergen 20th. Eric Jones, whose incident triggered the late caution, finished 23rd, 1 lap down. Then there were the drivers who had genuinely nightmarish days. William Byron finished 35th, a staggering 69 laps down. Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Cole Custer, Joey Logano, and Kyle Larson all finished deep in the back, 74 laps down. Talladega does not care who you are. Big names, championship contenders, and veteran drivers get humbled here every single year. A top 10 finish at Talladega is genuinely valuable in the context of a Cup Series season. The points, the momentum, and the confidence that comes from executing a smart superspeedway race all matter across the course of a long year. Losing that result in the final corner of the final lap, in a crash that you had absolutely no control over and no way to avoid, is one of the most frustrating outcomes possible in professional racing. SVG earned that result over 187 laps of careful, disciplined racing. It was taken from him in 3 seconds by chaos that started several cars ahead of him. Shane Van Gisbergen has demonstrated throughout his NASCAR career that the talent is real. He is a proven winner at the highest levels of international motorsport, and the adjustment to NASCAR's superspeedway-specific racing style is a recognized learning curve for any driver coming into the Cup Series from outside the American market. The ability is not in question. Trackhouse Racing at least salvaged Chastain's 7th-place result from the day, so the organization does not leave Talladega empty-handed. But for SVG personally, this one stings in a way that is genuinely difficult to explain to anyone who has not watched a guaranteed points finish disappear in a crash they had no hand in causing. The critical takeaway remains this: he walked away. A side-impact crash at superspeedway speeds involving multiple cars simultaneously is a scenario where the outcome can go very wrong, very fast. The fact that Van Gisbergen climbed out of the destroyed number 97 under his own power, got on the radio calmly, and told his team he was okay, that is the real win from his corner of the garage on this particular Sunday. SVG and Trackhouse Racing will go through the data, understand exactly what happened, and show up at the next race ready to go again. That is what professional racers do. The sport moves forward, and so does Shane Van Gisbergen. That is the full story of the 2026 Jack Links 500 at Talladega Superspeedway, Hocevar's breakthrough win and SVG's heartbreaking final lap crash told in complete detail. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think SVG will get his first NASCAR Cup Series win before the end of 2026? Drop your prediction in the comments right now. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and reach more NASCAR fans who want real, detailed race coverage every single week. If you have not subscribed yet, right now is the time. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and you will never miss a breakdown, a crash analysis, or a race recap. We cover every race, every storyline, and every moment that matters in the Cup Series. We will see you at the next race.